Scroll through your phone right now and count them. The names, the faces, the little circles in your contacts list. You might have 800. You might have 2,000. But here is something strange. You don't actually know most of them. The number is much smaller than your contacts list suggests. And the real answer is far stranger than you'd expect. Because the limit isn't about your phone, or your busy schedule, or how social you are. The limit is built into the architecture of your brain. It was set hundreds of thousands of years ago on the African savanna by the size of a single organ behind your forehead, and no amount of technology has ever moved it. This is the Dunbar effect. And once you understand it, you will never look at your friendships the same way again. Let's go back. Not to your childhood. Further, back to a world with no cities, no writing, no agriculture. Your ancestors lived in small bands. They hunted. They gathered. They survived together, or they didn't survive at all. In that world, the most dangerous thing was not the lion, it was being alone. So your ancestors needed each other. But cooperation has a hidden cost. To live in a group, you have to keep track of everyone. Who is trustworthy? Who owes you a favor? Who is sleeping with whom? Who held a grudge last season? Every relationship is a thread, and your brain has to hold all of those threads at once. That kind of tracking takes enormous processing power. And processing power lives in a part of your brain called the neocortex. The neocortex is the wrinkled outer layer. It's the part that handles language, planning, and the most complex thing your mind ever does, which is modeling other minds. Thinking about what someone else is thinking, imagining how they feel about you, predicting what they'll do next. In the 1990s, a British anthropologist named Robin Dunbar noticed something. He was studying primates, monkeys, apes, our closest relatives, and he found a clean, almost shocking pattern. The bigger a primate's neocortex, the bigger its social group. The relationship was so consistent, he could draw it as a line on a graph. Brain size predicted group size, almost perfectly. So Dunbar did something bold. He took the size of the human neocortex, plugged it into the same equation, and asked what number it spat out. What group size should a brain like yours be able to handle? The answer was about 150. That's it. That is the number of meaningful, stable relationships your brain is wired to maintain at one time. Not acquaintances, not faces you recognize. Real relationships. Where you know the person and you know how they relate to everyone else in the group. This number now carries his name. They call it Dunbar's number. And here is where it gets eerie. Dunbar went looking in the real world to test it, and the number kept showing up. He looked at hunter-gatherer societies that still exist today and found their villages clustered around that size before splitting into two. He looked at the Hutterites, a farming community that deliberately divides any settlement once it grows past 150, because they've learned from experience that beyond that point, you can no longer keep order through personal relationships alone. You need rules. You need hierarchy. You need police. He looked at military history. The basic fighting unit, the company, has hovered around that same size for centuries across completely different armies and eras. Why? Because a commander needs every soldier to know and trust every other soldier. Past 150, that web of trust breaks down. The unit stops feeling like a family and starts feeling like a crowd. Even the people who built early companies stumbled onto it. The founder of Gore-Tex famously kept each factory under 150 employees because he noticed that beyond that size, people stopped knowing each other, and the whole thing got harder to run. He didn't have the science. He just had the experience. And the experience matched the math. So the number is real. But what does it actually feel like? Inside your own life, Dunbar found that the 150 isn't one flat circle. It's a series of rings, nested inside each other, like the rings of a tree. And each ring has its own number. At the very center, there's a tiny ring. About 5 people. These are your most intimate bonds, the ones you'd drop everything for. Your closest family, your 1 or 2 best friends, the people whose pain feels like your own pain. Around that, a ring of about 15. These are the people you'd turn to for real comfort and support. Your inner circle, the ones you'd want at a small dinner, the ones whose deaths would genuinely break you. Around that, a ring of about 50. Good friends. People you'd invite to a big party. People you keep up with, more or less. And then the outer ring, the full 150. Everyone you have a genuine, two-way relationship with. Beyond that line are the 1,500 or so faces you can simply recognize. And beyond that, strangers. Here is the part that should stop you cold. These rings have a fixed capacity. Your brain only has so much room. So when someone new moves into one of your inner rings, someone else gets pushed out. You feel it when you fall in love and your friends complain they never see you. You feel it when a new baby arrives and the rest of the world goes quiet for a year. You are not becoming a worse friend. You are running into a wall that has always been there. Your social world is a fixed budget, and every deep relationship is expensive. So now think about where you actually live. Not on the savannah. You live in a world of cities with millions of people. You live online, surrounded by thousands of profiles, follower counts, group chats that never stop buzzing. Your environment is screaming at you that you have a vast social world. But your brain didn't get the message. It's still running the savannah software. It still thinks 150 is the whole tribe. And that mismatch creates a very specific kind of modern ache. Think about what social media does. It fills your outer rings with people who don't belong there. You watch a stranger's vacation, their wedding, their grief, in intimate detail. Your ancient brain processes that like they're someone in your tribe. It spends real emotional energy on them, but they will never call you at 3 a.m. They don't even know you exist. You are pouring your limited social budget into relationships that only flow one way. Researchers have a name for the feeling this produces. When you're surrounded by people and connections, but none of them reach the inner rings, you don't feel full. You feel lonely. Loneliness, it turns out, is not about how many people are around you. It's about how many of them are truly inside the wall. There's a study worth knowing here. The longest-running study of human happiness ever conducted, run for decades out of Harvard by researchers, including a psychiatrist named Robert Waldinger, followed people across their entire lives to find out what actually made them flourish. Not money. Not fame. Not status. The single strongest predictor of a long, happy, healthy life was the quality of their close relationships. The people in the inner rings, the 5 and the 15, the savannah had it right. The thing that kept your ancestors alive, real bonds with a small group, is the same thing that keeps you well today. Your biology hasn't changed. Only your distractions have. So why does any of this matter to you, sitting here with your 1,000 contacts and your endless feed? Because it gives you permission. Permission to stop. You were never supposed to keep up with everyone. You were never built to be everyone's friend. The guilt you feel about the messages you haven't answered, the people you've drifted from, the friendships that quietly faded. That guilt is you trying to violate a biological law. You can't maintain 1,000 relationships. For the same reason you can't hold your breath for an hour. The hardware won't allow it. And here's the freeing part. If the inner rings are what matter, and the inner rings are tiny, then the most important social work of your life is also the simplest. Protect the 5. Invest in the 15. Let the rest be what they are. A stranger's perfect life on your screen is not a relationship, and treating it like one is just spending a savannah-sized budget on a city-sized illusion. Robin Dunbar didn't just give us a number. He gave us a mirror. He showed us that beneath all our technology and noise, we are still tribal animals, walking around with a Stone Age sense of who belongs to us. The tools changed, the wiring didn't. So scroll through your phone again. All those names, all those faces, most of them are not your tribe, and that is not a failure. That is just the truth your brain has been quietly telling you all along. Somewhere in that list are the 5 who would come at 3 a.m. Find them. Hold them close, because in the end, you were never meant to know everyone. You were only ever meant to know a few people deeply. And that, it turns out, was always enough.